Good evening. It's 6 o'clock on Thursday, June 2nd, 2016. Welcome and thank you for joining us tonight for the English edition of Aura News, where we bring you today's top stories translated into English every weeknight. The international partners have made their last appeal to the Albanian politicians to adopt the judicial reform within June. For the first time, the EU Commissioner Johannes Hahn spoke plainly, asking the politicians to ensure the 93 votes needed to adopt the constitutional package. Commissioner Hahn urged the parties to find compromise over the political issues the parties disagree on, without changing the essence of the draft that has already been accepted by the internationals. It's important for you now to walk through the last kilometer and ensure the needed two-thirds vote that is needed for the constitutional changes, spoke EU Commissioner Hahn to the Albanian politicians. In addition, the U.S. Ambassador Donald Liu admonished the politicians not to treat Albanian citizens as if they are fools, saying, I had a discussion with a politician who claimed that the Albanian people cannot really understand the debate over the judicial reform. This is a typical arrogance of Albanian politicians and the Albanian elite, who think that they are the only ones who are smart enough to understand what is happening in Albanian society, said the U.S. ambassador. The Albanians understand that corruption is destroying their lives, said Liu, who retold the story of a woman who had been unfairly treated by the court. This woman lost 2 of her 3 children and all of her wealth. They were given by the court to her husband, who had been previously sentenced for sexual crimes. Corruption in the judicial system not only allows the politicians and judges to fill their pockets with dirty money, but it also destroys the lives of honest, everyday people. The rich and the strong buy justice, while the poor and people without political support are victimized, said Ambassador Liu. Meanwhile, Albania's EU ambassador, Romana Vlahutin, made an appeal for institutions to be stronger than crime. According to the surveys, 91% of Albanians ask for justice instead of corruption, but it seems like this is not enough to convince the political class to adopt the draft. EU Commissioner Hahn set June 10th as the last deadline for Albania to prove their goal towards progress into the European Union. A recent study conducted in Albania found that the citizens see most of the country's institutions as corrupt. Around 1,000 Albanians were interrogated, and 1 in 3 of them says that corruption has increased compared to 3 years ago. The respondents think that teachers, the president, heads of religious beliefs, and the media are considered to be honest, while customs officers, judges, and prosecutors are listed among the corrupt. The study shows that 89% of Albanians think that corruption is either widespread or very widespread among public officials, spurring the National Coordinator Against Corruption to respond after being faced with the study's data indicating that the Albanian citizens' trust in state institutions continues to be very low. I am not saying that corruption has disappeared, but we have the conviction to fight against this trend every day. Corruption continues to be a serious problem, maybe one of the most serious ones at the time being, and for this reason the judicial reform is the most important of other reforms, he said, adding that the government will work harder in the battle against corruption. The study shows that the general economic situation in Albania is seen as grim by the majority of citizens in the country. The findings show that 3 out of 5 citizens see the economic situation as bad or very bad, and 53% of citizens believe that the economic situation in the country has deteriorated compared to the last year. Today's plenary session was held with only the members of the majority, as the opposition is still in its 10-day boycott of Parliament. However, the debates between the Democrats and Socialists were substituted today by the debates among the Socialist Party members. During his speech, the Socialist MP Blushi spoke about a degradation of the Socialist Party mentioning the former mayor of Kavaya to show the model he feels the Socialist Party is promoting. What happened with Elvis Roshi is political degradation. Italy sentenced him, we made him a mayor. Those who have been in prison are now being honored. If being a socialist means defending crime, today I do not like being a socialist, declared MP Blushi in Parliament. The Minister of Interior reacted to the statement expressing his disappointment about Blushi's statement, saying the MP might not be a socialist. The idea that Blushi was not a socialist was also supported by the Minister of Finance. A socialist criticizes but does not accuse. Do not create a new party by accusing. The power is to rise over mistakes and change. Your accusations do not allow you to be different, said the Minister of Finance. Blushi responded, you cannot tell me whether I am a socialist or not. I cannot be a socialist when 10% of the mayors from this party are in conflict with the law. I cannot be a socialist when this party violates the public interest. Another socialist MP, Mimosa Hafizi, also entered the debate, declaring that the government has deviated from the program voted on in 2013. Meanwhile, the Socialist MP, Ariane Brache, asked for the respect of Parliament's agenda, saying that Parliament is not the place for MPs to determine who is from the Socialist Party and who is not. The Party for Justice, Integrity and Unity chairman also demanded the respect of the agenda, saying that Parliament is not the assembly of the Socialist Party and that these issues can be solved there. Even though the majority has always accused the opposition of deviating the Parliament's agenda, today plenary session proved that it's difficult for this Parliament to follow the regulation and the normal agenda of the Parliament. Vice Chairman of the Socialist Party Parliamentary Group asked the prosecution to launch an investigation into the Democratic MP Fullani Noka as soon as possible, upon discovery that he had hidden his having been banned from former Yugoslavia. The Vice Chairman declared that all MPs and senior officials who have hidden data on the self-declaration form, including the former Prime Minister, must be investigated. Meanwhile, the Democratic Party explained that MP Noka had not been banned because he had committed crimes, but because he did not follow the regime of the time, a situation which, according to the DP, is not included in the decriminalization law as a criminal offense. The Administrative Court agreed to partially pay the former Bank of Albania's governor's request for compensation of salary after being dismissed. The former BOA governor sued the Central Bank of Albania and Parliament for unfair dismissal. After several court sessions, the judge considered the procedure for the former BOA governor's dismissal, but his request to return to duty and the request to compensate him for damages caused by his dismissal were rejected. The court did not, however, consent to paying the former governor his salary for 12 months. The former BOA governor had demanded 50 months compensation, asking for his salary starting from September 2014, when he was dismissed, until November 2018, the time when his term of office was to end. He also sued for 15 million lek, claiming moral and psychological damage caused by the unfair dismissal, which was rejected by the court. The Administrative Court stated that the requests were rejected because the lawsuit had begun past the deadline, and that reinstating his position is not a stipulation of the Bank of Albania bylaws. However, today's decision liberates the former BOA governor from the responsibility for stealing 713 million lek from the Bank of Albania and confirms the fact that his removal was made outside the constitutional law. The Banking Association's data for April shows that 20% of loans are in non-payment. This is an increase of 0.7% compared to March and 1.8% compared to last year. In December, the level of defaulted loans had gone down to 18.2%, and the banks have cleared loans that had not been repaid for 3 years. Even though the banking system lost around 23 billion lek from loan payments not being made in 2015, there are still more loans not being repaid. The Bank of Albania experts urge the banks to be more careful and only give loans to businesses with certified data and a balance sheet. Last year, the government and the Bank of Albania approved a plan to reduce this number of non-payment loans, but business owners are saying that they are going through difficult times, resulting in difficulty with implementing the reduction plan. The majority of defaulting loans are concentrated to 35 large companies, which have debts to more than one bank. That's all for our English edition this evening. Please join us again Monday through Saturday at 6 p.m. for your local news in English. My name is Mari, and on behalf of Aura News, thank you and good night.